All right, let's dive straight in. Navigating the world of tech upgrades, especially something like a graphics card, well, it can feel a bit overwhelming, right? Trying to find that sweet spot between um, raw power and, actual value for your money. Well, today, our mission is kind of zeroed in on one specific piece of hardware that's been making some waves, the ASUS Dual Radeon RX 7800 XTOC edition. There's definitely been some buzz around this one in that mid to high-end space, so we're going to unpack the key takeaways from a really thorough review, give you the essence of what it's about.
Exactly. And this card, it's really AMD's strategic play in a super competitive market segment. It's aimed squarely at gamers, creators too, who need, serious performance, but maybe aren't quite ready to splash out on the absolute top-end flagship models. So we'll look at how it actually performs, its design, and how future-proof it might be for you.
Okay, so positioning first. It sounds like it sits right in that sweet spot you mentioned, mid to high end. For people who want really good performance, but maybe the absolute bleeding edge isn't necessary or affordable, what makes that positioning work?
Well, it's really down to the specs aligning with that goal. You're looking at 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 memory, which for this kind of price point is pretty generous. That's your fast memory right on the card, crucial for textures and smooth gameplay.
16 GB is quite a lot, yeah.
It really is. Plenty for today's games, even demanding ones, and definitely helps if you're doing creative work. Plus, you get the latest display outputs, HDMI 2.1, DisplayPort 2.1, and it's all built on AMD's RDNA 3 architecture. So yeah, it makes for a really compelling package, especially for gamers and creators.
Okay, let's shift to the look and feel. The review mentioned an understated aesthetic, matte black, subtle branding, and interestingly, no RGB lighting at all.
Yeah, that's a definite choice they made.
Which, some people will love for that stealthy look, others might miss the glow.
Absolutely. It's very much function over flare here. And those design choices, they have practical benefits. It's got two big axial tech fans. They're designed for really efficient cooling.
Right.
And the whole cooler assembly is, well, surprisingly compact, actually. So it should fit pretty easily into most mid-tower cases. Good for airflow, too.
And the build quality itself?
Oh, it's described as rock solid, sturdy shroud, metal backplate, adding rigidity. It feels premium, definitely lives up to that ASUS reputation. Better cooling usually means, less throttling, more consistent performance over time.
Okay, solid design, practical cooling, but performance, that's the main event, isn't it?
Yeah.
What did the review find in actual gaming? This is where it gets interesting.
Yeah, this is where the RX 7800 XTOC really delivers. So for 1440p gaming, effortless is the word they used. We're talking most modern games pushing well past 100 frames per second, often on high or even ultra settings.
Wow, okay, so really smooth at that resolution.
Exactly. That's a key benchmark for this class of card. And what's also pretty impressive is how it handles 4K. It's described as surprisingly competent, especially in games that are well optimized. For the money, it gets really quite close to much more expensive GPUs.
And this is the OC edition, right? So it comes factory overclocked?
That's right. Gives you a little extra boost right out of the box. No manual tweaking needed if you don't want to.
And crucially, how are the thermals and noise when it's working hard?
Reportedly really good. Thermals stay well under control, and the fan noise is minimal, even under load. That's a big plus for keeping your gaming immersive. You don't want a vacuum cleaner next to you.
Definitely not.
So yeah, thinking about those frustrating frame drops and key moments, this card aims to minimize those significantly at 1440p. And a lot of that comes down to the RDNA 3 architecture underneath. That's AMD's latest design. Brings things like better power efficiency and improved ray tracing compared to the last gen RDNA 2.
Okay, improvements are good. But how does it fare directly against NVIDIA, especially on ray tracing? That's usually NVIDIA's strong suit.
That's fair. And the source does point that out. While RDNA 3 is better, it still trails NVIDIA's offerings in terms of raw capability, especially in really heavy ray trace games.
Mm-hmm.
But, and this is important, AMD has its own ace up its sleeve. FSR, Fidelity FX Super Resolution.
Right, the upscaling tech.
Exactly. Think of it like smart upscaling. The game runs at a lower resolution internally, then FSR intelligently reconstructs the image to look sharp, close to native resolution. It keeps evolving, and it really helps maintain high frame rates without, a huge visual downgrade. So even if native ray tracing isn't quite as strong, FSR often makes up for it in practice for many users, makes things feel smooth.
That makes sense. It's a different approach to getting those frames. Okay, looking ahead, future-proofing. What about connectivity? You mentioned HDMI 2.1 and DisplayPort 2.1. Why are those important for people planning a build now?
They're crucial, really, because they support the latest monitors. High refresh rates, 144 hertz, 240 hertz at higher resolutions like 1440p or even 4K. If you invest in a great monitor, you need the connection to actually drive it properly. These standards give you that bandwidth.
So it won't bottleneck your fancy new display.
Precisely. It also supports PCI 4.0 for maximum bandwidth between the card and motherboard, though it works fine with older PCIe 3.0 systems too. And that 16GB of VRAM we talked about, that's definitely a future-proofing element, more than enough for current games, and really helpful if you're a creator working with like big 4K video files or complex textures. It's a good amount to have moving forward.
Right, gives you that headroom. So, okay, all these features, performance. What about daily use? The review mentioned power efficiency being a sort of quiet advantage.
Yeah, it runs relatively cool and quiet even when you're pushing it hard for hours.
Which is nice for noise, but does it have other benefits?
Definitely. It actually draws less power than some other cards that perform similarly. That can mean, slightly lower electricity bills over time and less strain on your power supply unit. You might not need quite as massive a PSU, which could save you some money on the build itself.
Okay, so it's efficient.
Yeah, cooler, quieter, potentially cheaper to run and build around. It all adds up to the overall value.
Okay, so wrapping it all up, the verdict on the ASUS Dual Radeon RX 7800 XTOC edition seems pretty positive.
Very positive, yes. It really seems to strike that great balance between performance, particularly strong at 1440p, efficiency, and overall value.
A compelling choice, then, for people wanting that high-end 1440p experience, maybe dipping their toes into 4K without paying those absolute top-tier pricing.
Exactly, and needing those future-ready features like the display outputs and VRAM. Now, that no-nonsense, no RGB design might not be for everyone.
Sure, the aesthetic preference.
Right, but the build quality, the cooling, the reliability, those are strong points for ASUS here. So for most people thinking about a build or an upgrade in 2025, this card gives you, well, plenty of reasons to consider AMD. It handles gaming, streaming, content creation really well, and ASUS delivers it with quiet confidence.
Okay, so to quickly recap for everyone listening, you're getting strong 1440p performance, decent 4K ability, an efficient RDNA 3-core that generates 16GB of memory, and solid ASUS build quality, all offering really good value. Hopefully this deep dive helps you figure out if this specific card, the ASUS Dual RX 7800 XTOC, might be the right fit for your next build, whether you're mostly gaming, streaming, or doing creative work. And just a final thought to leave you with. As these AI upscaling technologies like AMD's FSR get better and better, allowing really high frame rates without much visual loss, how might that change how we even think about raw GPU power?
Interesting point.
Does it mean the future is more about this synergy between the hardware and really smart software? And what does that mean for how you choose your next graphics card? Something to mull over.